Hello again, I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to do an oil painting, and it's a scene that I've got a photograph from a fall scene, and the challenge today is to see if we can take that fall scene and turn it into a winter scene. So it'll be a little bit of a challenge for us. I have a photograph I'll show you, I have a sketch already completed, and I have a value map that I've completed. And so without further ado, let me get this camera zoomed in here and see if we can get started on this. I think that's about where I want it. Here's a sketch. You can see this sketch on my website. I usually post these sketches for everyone on my website, so you can download it and get ready to paint with me. So if you notice, the painting or the photograph is really a fall scene. Everything's orange and brown, and I'm going to change that into a cool winter scene where everything's going to be sort of white, gray, violet, and maybe some browns in there, but snow and that sort of thing. So that's our challenge. The brushes, I have a whole assortment of brushes. I won't go over them. I'll try to mention them as I use them, and won't take time to do that. I will, however, go over the paints one time. I have a limited palette today, a few less paints than normal. So I'll tell you what I'm using today. I'm using titanium white, of course, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre, and a ultramarine violet. So that is a limited palette. I've taken off the greens and several of the yellows and bright red. It's a lot cooler. So with only those palette colors on my palette, hopefully I'll be able to make this painting a cool winter scene. So without any more for me, let's get started here. And I'm going to start with a Treacle number 16 filbert. And I'm going to put on a little bit of liquid white for the background. These are Bob Ross colors for the most part. As you know, I followed Bob Ross and used some of his techniques, but not all of his techniques. I like some of those wet on wet painting style that he has developed, and I like the way you can get some very nice soft areas of the painting, like skies and waters and that sort of thing. But other parts of it I've sort of changed using different brushes and a little bit different painting technique, I guess, if you will. I've followed other artists as well. I continue to learn, which I recommend you do. Don't just stick with one artist and follow him as the one and only. Maybe I talk like a heretic to those who love Bob Ross, but he did more for the hobbyist painter or the painter who wanted to learn how to paint than a lot of people in terms of his PBS series. He had an untimely death, but his work still goes on, and his paintings still are out there, and his videos are still there. Okay, so let's see if we can gray this sky down a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of midnight black in here, a little bit of my violet, some titanium white, and just see if we can start getting in some a little bit of a gray, not gray, but a little bit of a violet color here. Use a little more black in some places and it'll turn gray. Nice soft brush here. This is these brushes from Treacle, Trekkell, Treacle.com. They're not cheap brushes, but they do have nice bristles. And I kind of like the way they put the paint on. A little bit more dark here. All right, the sky is sort of wintry. These cooler colors make it look that way. I'm going to put just a touch of alizarin over here. See if I can get a little bit of color in the sky, not too much. That helps to give a bit of a coldness to it. If I use the red, if I use the alizarin crimson, which is a red with purple in it, we end up getting a cooler red. I do have very little green in this painting. I actually left my greens off the palette. And there's water in here. I have a nice stream that I'm going to try to paint in. Excuse me. All right, if I need some more texture in that sky, I can come back and do that. Let's get back in here and see if we can start putting in. I got a lot of trees back here. It's a real forest of trees. They all show up as orange and brown in the painting, or in the photograph rather, but I'll pick a few darks. I'm going to use the same brush and just sort of mix up my colors and just start putting in some vertical brush strokes here to see if we can start getting some different kinds of trees here. I'm not trying to paint trees, I'm trying to paint the impression of trees back here. Put a little bit of ochre in with my Van Dyke browns. Some of these trees, they go right off the top of the page, or top of the canvas here. There's a light area back here in the back that's got a little area of lightness that I'm going to turn into a light area of snow back there. So most of the sky is really covered up in the photograph. So I'm trying to give a nice impressionistic look back there. I'm going to pick up a little alizarin and dark sienna. It's a little white. See if I can get a little bit different colors in there. Put a little bit over here, lighten it up in some areas. We have the hairs, the bristles on this brush are synthetic mongoose. So it's a very different type of brush. These browns will warm it up even though it's going to be a generally cool scene. I think it's time to pick up just a tad of blues maybe and a little bit of my... So far I haven't washed my brush. You notice I don't wash out my brush very often. Unless I'm totally changing colors or changing style of what I want to paint here. Put in some dark lavenders back here. These will look like more trees in the distance. Trying to give myself some depth in this painting. You want to always try to create depth if you can. And blue and violet purples will always give you a atmospheric perspective, which makes people think it's got depth. We're all about fooling the eye here, folks. We're trying to paint three-dimensional scene on two-dimensional canvas. Canvas we're painting on today is the same as usual. I usually mention that, I forgot. It's 11 by 14 stretch canvas. And I have it pre-primed with my gray gesso. Okay, let's put a little more of this purple back here to give a little bit of a balance to it. Okay, so we are getting a little bit of depth in that scene, probably more than is showing in the photograph, I'm sure. This area over here is very dark, and it has some branches of like there'll be snow-covered branches over here. I'm going to put just a little of my, not liquid white. I have two mediums here. I have this liquid white, which is not really a medium. It's a paint that Bob Ross created for his television show. It makes the painting dry longer, takes it longer to dry. But I also have some Liquin, L-I-Q-U-I-N, Liquin from Winsor Newton. And it speeds up the drying time, and it puts a nice little soft covering on the canvas so that the paint will flow smoother, but it will also dry a little faster. So I'm just putting a little bit of Liquin on here now to give myself something to paint on. Trying not to destroy my drawing. My drawing on this painting was done with my charcoal white pencil from General, and I always put that over my gray canvas. Gives me a nice thing to look at when I'm painting, so I don't totally lose track of all my images and all my ideas for trees and rocks. Okay, I'm just kind of laying in this background now to get it in. I'm going to get a little bit of this, try a little of this Prussian blue with some of my ochre, and that will give me a green, right? Blue and a yellow make green. And depending on what yellows you use and what blues you use will determine what colors of green you get. So I didn't put sap green on my palette because I had a yellow and a blue on my palette. Now I'm not trying to match specific colors, like when you're maybe painting a portrait or something, you might be trying to match a specific hue or shade or value, so you add more colors to your palette or worry more about the exact color. I'm not worried about exact colors here. I'm worried about giving you an impression of trees and a cool background, a little bit of green in it, but not a lot. Okay, now that's good for the start of the background. Got some greens back there. It's really so light you may not even be able to see that well on camera. I don't know. But it's a translation problem. It's kind of like talking in a different language here. I'm looking at a photograph that's all orange and brown, trying to translate it into a winter scene that's got cooler colors of blues and grays, and throwing in a little greens here and little light colors there. Put in some more dark ones over here. Just want to give this background a good feeling of depth and something going on back there in the distance. Okay, enough for that now. Step back and see if it has depth. All right, now, next step, let's clean this brush out. And I want to start over here on this big tree on the left and start putting in some of my very dark darks. For that, I'm going to go back and pick up one of my older Bob Ross brushes here, and I'm going to pick up this blue. This is a little fan brush. Some blues and blacks, some browns, maybe even a touch of this ochre. I really want a dark set of trees over here. These are like a whole bunch of pine trees on the left side, and they're really dark. Got a few sky holes in them. Put this other blue in there. So they're just, I'm putting on top of this liquid, putting a base down, and giving myself some phthalo blue, and these browns will give you a lot of dark colors in here. So this comes down all the way to about down to here, I think. So they just sort of go out like this. Let me get some of that more there. So if I need some more light back in there, I can put the sky back in afterwards if I have to, if I cover it up. Okay, that's pretty good for now. Now, we don't want to leave that as the only color, the only place that color exists. So let's go over here and let's put a few similar bushes, maybe smaller trees that are over here in this area. They're not necessarily a painting. I actually don't have any little pine trees in this painting, but I'm creating them because I want balance. I want a little harmony. I want this color to repeat itself on the other side. I may want a little bit of this color down in the middle ground in this area even as a dark underpaint. I got some bushes down here. They're going to be covered with some snow, so I'll just stick that in now. Well, I got this in my brush. These things kind of going to brush out like that. Okay. Now, coming forward, I always start at the back. Usually I start at the back and come forward. You don't have to. You paint the way you feel you want to paint. Every artist has a style and they have techniques that they sort of adhere to. And I sort of pick and choose those I like, and those that I don't pick, I don't choose to follow. So if you don't like the way I'm painting, you do it the way you like it, but you still have a sketch and you still have an idea for a painting, and you can kind of get inspired, I hope, from what I'm showing you here. All right, now that's off in the distance pretty well. Clean out my little fan brush here. All right, let's start putting a little bit of snow in here. I got to get some snow on this thing to get me in a cool mood here. I'm going to pick up some white and start laying in some distant snow back here. You can always flick it up like this and make it merge with the trees that are back there. Oh yeah, that's starting to look a little more wintry. We'll stretch back there. You have to step back, folks. You got to get away from it. When you stand 2 feet away from the painting and only look at it that close, you'll never see the bigger picture. You have to get back away from it. And we're coming down to some rocks and stuff that are into the bank of this river, creek, whatever it is. So let's put some more. Okay, that's starting to give me a little depth back in there. I want to get a little, make you think you can just walk around back in there. If I do it just right, you'll think that you might just be able to wander back into this painting and get back in the distance. Places and paths to walk through back there. All right, a little bit of the middle ground. Starting to come forward here, getting down to some bushes. Let's put a little bit of color in this. See if we can pick up a little of the lavender. I keep calling this violet color lavender. I guess that's when I mix it with some white, I guess that's the color I get out of it. But So we're giving a little bit of depth. Don't leave the lavender color over on the right only. Bring some over the other side. Give yourself a little bit of distance here. I think I want to put in some trees in that background next, but let me sort of block in a little more of this over here. Get it blocked in and come back and refine it later. Maybe just a little of my liquid will help. The paint goes smoother. All right. There we go. I was hoping I could get a little bright areas back here that looks like sunlight is hitting back in the distance, because I'm going to paint some things in front of that that's going to make it go back, and it's going to look like you have a little path of bright white back here somewhere that the sun is hitting. And I do that by just putting in some very bright titanium white right out of the tube. As I put things in front of that, it'll start looking like that's getting sun hitting on it back there in the distance. Okay, let's stop with that one. Let's see if we can get a few more trees in that middle ground. I've got the the background trees pretty well done, I think, the way I like them. What am I going to do? Pick up get a smaller treacle here. I'm getting a number 12 treacle flat, and I'm going to start putting in some trees that are a little bit larger, come down in this area here, and sort of in the middle ground, if you will. Picking up some of my brown, my Van Dyke brown here. We have a tree that sort of sits in here like this. And sort of goes up like that. We'll just put him in, put in some dark branches up here that just sort of take off and go into the sky. Just here we have a number of things back here that look like trees, and picking up some so I don't know if you can hear the hammering going on next door or not, but I can't really control that. Okay, there's some trees. Well, while we're at it, let's put some dark trunks in here. Maybe there's some, have to show something that holds all this up. I think that's not exactly the way I want it to look, so I'm going to go get a little more of this thinner, a little thinner. I'm taking this liquid, getting it on my brush. I'm going to get a nice thin wash here of some dark colors. Dark gray and really runny. And this is my Bob Ross script liner, number 2 script liner. And I'm going to go back in here and start putting in a few real fine trees. I get a lot finer point with this brush than I did with that treacle flat. Dark, some darks here. Okay, we'll just put in some real fine lines here. A lot of trees, a lot of stuff going on back here in this woods. Okay. Okay, even in here I can come back and maybe put some finer branches in here and make it look like we got something holding this tree up out here. These number of trees, could even be trees in front of this that's coming down. All right, let's see how that's going to look now. Okay, we may want to put some dried leaves and stuff on these after a bit, but don't forget. All right, that's a little bit different color. Let's go back and pick up our fan brush here and see if we can lighten up some more of these areas with snow. One thing about, excuse me. One thing about the putting water in a winter scene like this, water is usually almost black in many cases. I mean, if you look at photographs of this, and even in nature, photographs will give you a distortion because they do try to average the values out, and makes it a little hard to distinguish what the color is when you're painting from a photograph. But even in nature, when you look at a water scene and snow surrounding it, the water is usually looks very dark, almost black in many cases. It's not black in nature. If you were out there painting this in plein air, real life out there, you would be finding that it's not black, but most cameras translate it that way. Okay, let's just keep building on this here. We're building sort of piles of snow here. Got some rocks here. This area is going to be very dark in the middle. Actually, my value map, I had it lighter than I think I want to make it, but I'm going to start putting in some of that dark color now. Back in here, we'll start putting in some, still using this fan brush. Oops, don't want that blue. Got some rocks coming down over here. We're going to have some bank coming in over here. Let's make it go way back there so it looks like here. It's kind of frozen over. And yeah. Okay. Stop with that. Let's see if we can get some, maybe I'll take my, haven't used my palette knife for a while. I don't know if it's even going to work. I may not like it, but I'm going to see if I can put in a few little rocky areas back here that sort of jut out over the water. I'm using some of my browns and blacks together here, just getting a little bit on the edge of the brush, on the edge of the palette knife. If you've ever watched Bob Ross, he always shows you the little bead of paint he gets on the end of his palette knife like that, and then he just sort of paints with it. Like this. too crazy with the way that's looking right now, but let's see if we can make it look a little better by just taking a little bead of white paint and just sort of hitting on top of it like this, just kind of brushing down, pulling down. Something like this. We're getting a little bit of snow-covered rocks, I think, in the middle ground. I don't want them to be too outstanding, otherwise your eye will just sort of focus here. I want your eye to kind of move around, so I don't want those to be the most important focal point of the painting. And we might have some more rocks and things over here coming down. Let's put in some grays. Like that. This is significantly different than the photograph I'm looking at. Let's see here if I have, take my flat and see if I can put a few bushes here in the this area. Sort of pushing in. See what that looks like in the distance there. Okay. Combination of ochre and Prussian blue are giving me these little greens in here that I'm sticking in. And continue coming down with this rocky surface here. Let's see here. That's really purple. So I'm giving that quite a bit of a bank there, if you noticed. Maybe even more than is what's on the original. Let's see if I can go back and get just a little bit of this. Take some white here with my number 12 treacle and see if I can just put in some areas that are covered with snow right here. Snow over here. Push it up in the bottom of those bushes. Okay. Down that thing for a while. All right. Getting some depth in there now as I make these a lot more distinct and make them stand out. You can see the depth showing up. Okay, we got some other rocks and some other scrub brush and stuff here. I got a big old rock or two down in the foreground. And then the rest of it's sort of, it's actually snow and covering the ground about everywhere. Everywhere I had leaves in the photograph, I'm actually giving it a snow covering. Picked up a little liquid I'm going to put in just a little, get some liquid on the canvas so I can get some smooth flowing paint here. Okay. The brush strokes, wherever the land is moving, if the land is laying this way, you want your brush strokes generally to go this way. If the land is going up that way, you want your brush strokes to sort of follow the surface of the land. So hopefully that will help you remember. Because this is land that's coming down to the water's edge here. And so it's all sort of just either flat or whatever. I got rocks here. I'm going to pop in some rocks, leaving some room for those. All this area here is snow. So I'm just putting a little base coat under it right now to tell me where the snow is and where the rocks are. Got the snow over here. Okay, we're making pretty good progress. I would say put a little more of this stream in here in the middle. Like right here, you want it to be sort of define the edges of that snow bank where it comes in, and I'm using some my dark colors here. More rocks. This water comes all the way down here. We'll pop in some liquid and just start laying in the covering of the canvas here. All right. See here. Back and put in another rock or two here. See if we can get a sort of a reddish. Maybe too red. Like right in here. Let's throw in some big rocks, dark on the bottom. I'm just going to get some dark on there before I can make it dark on the bottom. Okay. More darks in some places here. And then I'm going to come back and put a little dusting of snow on it, so I'm going to come back with my palette knife again and just sort of do something like this. Got a lot of snow out here in the water. I have quite a bit of weight over here. If I look at this, I'm going to put couple bigger trees in here to sort of balance this weight. But I want to get these trees in first, or rocks rather. Put that in as a base. Come back and put another little rock over here like this. Something like that. Pick up some other colors here, mix it in. Even put in a little of this red color here once in a while. We can throw in some different colors of rock, make it. At least give it some depth and some change of color. None of that's in the photograph. None of this. Okay, let's see here. Let's go back and pick up some more snow. A good drift of snow over this set of rocks. A little bit right here. Okay, let's see here. Okay, we're making some good progress here. picking up some dirt actually. A bit of snow on this guy here. Doing a lot more with the palette knife today than I thought I would, but sometimes snow scenes kind of call for that. All right, a couple more rocks in this foreground here. Gotta be almost totally gray. Like right in here. Up a few different colors. Connect these together. A couple of flat rocks laying over on the right side here. Very little green in that. Just put in some more snow. More snow over here. Let's pop out a few more rock parts here in this area here. I got a big area. If you remember my discussion about not leaving any 2 square inches of your painting with nothing going on, there's a big spot right there with nothing going on. I'd like to tell you I did that on purpose, but so I could demonstrate this, but it's not exactly what I did. As you stand back and look at your painting, you'll find areas that need some attention. So all you have to do is go fix them up. All right, now I'm going to put in a couple of big trees. I think I'm going to just, I don't know if I should use my, try to use this script liner again, get a lot of liquid on here, make this very runny. Can. I'm in a Van Dyke brown, a little bit of dark sienna, runny paint, mixture of liquid and thinner. But over here, like coming out of this area, I want a big fat tree coming up like this, like that. Could be just a little fatter. I'll just put a little more weight on him here. Okay, something like that. Put him a couple of knobs there that stick out. Even be a little bit, have a little more. Okay. Maybe has a piece broken off of him there. All right, let's change the color and get some more thinner. here, maybe put a little white in it. Get me a... Again, I'm using this grip liner, but I'm pressing down on it and making a very fat, wide. Probably can't see that. Put a little more dark in it at the top. Let's try another one over here. Make this guy a double wide over here, maybe. Oh, let's see, let's make this guy the double wide. Gotta have more contrast or you can't see it. Darker, darker, darker. Okay, getting a lot of dark here. There, getting wider. Okay, and maybe we'll just have another one or two over here that are not quite as distinctive. All right. So the background is fairly fuzzy and indistinct. The middle ground is a little more distinct. And the foreground is very distinct. One of my teachers used to say you had to have, if you made trees in threes, you had to have a mama bear, papa bear, and a baby bear. So I have my papa bear here, big fat double wide in the middle, and mama bear on the left and the baby on the right. I just sort of give him some more distinction here with some other branches that maybe are broken off. I don't know. Okay, now back here I've got some areas I want to probably darken in just to give myself some more rocks, some more texture back here in the water. Try to highlight that area in the back. Give you something to look at back there. There's more rocks as you come along here. There's a whole series of rocks sticking out, even some in the water. Try to make these, clean up some edges here and there. This particular rock on the right side doesn't look much like a rock. It looks kind of like just a swoop from a palette knife, which is what it is. Let's see if I can do something with him with this brush here. I'll come in with some snow on top. See if I can give it a little more. Need some dark underneath him here to a little shadow. Okay. All right, I think this getting close here. I'm going to put in a few vertical things here to help tell you this is excuse me, some water. Top of these rocks need to be a little better defined. Okay, this bank. See if that helps. Step back, take another look. Got some movement. Looks like we've got some, maybe even some layers of water coming down here. Didn't necessarily plan that either. Some of these are accidents that just work. Sometimes you never know what you're going to get till you start putting paint on the paper, on the canvas rather. In here, let's put in some more definition. All right, time to go back and take my fan brush and see if I can do a little more work on this snow in some areas. Like in here, I think I want to blend this together if I can. Yeah, just make that bottom connect to the snow. We're here the same way. I think I want to try to get just a few more bushes in there. I'm going to pick up some of my ochre, mix it a little bit with my dark sienna. See if I can pop in just a few little bushes in some areas to kind of warm it up here. Yeah, I'm just using the top of this brush and just sort of hitting it very lightly. Come back in here and put a little more something in here to sort of finish these off. They look like they're kind of just hanging there. Over there, let's do a few over here. Let's not leave the left side out. Adds a little bit of warmth in there in some spots. Probably not much going on down here, but let's put a few little things in. It looked like there might be something that was growing around here, some weeds, and kind of finish it off a little bit maybe. Up here where I had those I just put in, I want to make sure they're connected to the snow, so don't leave the bottoms hanging like you glued them on. Come back and put some snow on the bottom of them. Connect them. Okay, I think. Some of these areas are a little too distinct. I think I have to calm those down a little bit. They're almost pulling the eye out of the painting. When you look in here and you start looking around, you see a lot of texture here pulling your eye down. You probably want to tone it down just a little. At least that's my thinking. Don't want it to be so obvious that your eye just doesn't go in the painting where you want it to go. But this will help a little. Maybe tone this down just a little. Could be running it, who knows? It may not be, you may not like it as well this way. But I want to try to keep it looking as rock-like as possible. Big round circular rocks in there. All right, should I stop is the question. Okay, I think I'm pretty well done here. Just a little more dark over here to help close this corner in a little better. And let's not make it that perfect. Abstract shapes. You want to have, I haven't used that term today, but try to make as many things as you can have an abstract shape to them so you don't end up with things that look like triangles and circles and anything that's a standard geometric shape you want to try to stay away from if you can. Doesn't always work, but maybe that'll help a little bit there in that right corner. So you can tell I got different rocks here because I give you difference in contrast. Like right here is a little bit hard to tell. So let's put a little more dark in here on top of this guy. Okay, when you do it with a knife, sometimes you can get the contrast a little better than you can without the knife, but I think that's about all I want to do there. Oh, I thought about putting in just a few things out here to make it look like there's some things hanging on the trees a little bit out there. I talked about that a minute ago. If I didn't forget, and I almost forgot. So let's put a few warm, using ochre and a little bit of my alizarin and dark sienna. Just sort of pop in a few little things out here. It looks like there's still some little things hanging on these trees back here in some spots. Don't have to do a lot. Just sort of let the brush just touch. Over here, maybe there's even some hanging over here, a few places. Something like that. Maybe that's a little too much there, I don't know. Can always come back and take it out if I need to. Just soften it up a little bit there. Put in some of this white over it. All right, I better stop before I make it worse. I think that's going to do it. I will stop. Except for my signature, I better put that in here before I forget it. Make sure I get it on here. I have a little spot over here in the water that I think I've left room for. My name. Block print. All right. With that, I think I will zoom back and say thank you for watching once again. I'm glad you're here. I hope you like this painting. I hope you give it a try. And I will be making some announcements on my YouTube channel about a streaming classes I'm going to have. I think my next one's coming up January 20th, 2016. So if you want to watch me do this live streaming class, I will be charging for those, but I will be having a class that you can paint along with, and you can actually type in questions and ask me questions while I'm painting. I'll try to answer them. My first class in January will not be charged for. It's going to be sort of my experiment, try to see if I can make it all work, and hope you can join. If so, watch my website, watch YouTube, and make sure you know how to get connected. There will be an event notification from YouTube, and so till I see you again, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.